Duncan, thank you so much for joining us today. And I have to say, I'm hugely looking forward to next Tuesday's concert. And it's a fascinating program. And I mean, it actually has a number of composers that I certainly had to go and look up and do a bit of research on. What excites you about their music? And could you tell us a little bit more about the composers and the works that you'll be performing?
Well, hello, and I'm looking forward to it too. And I'm delighted that even you had to go and read up on some of those composers, because that shows I've managed to find some musical byways which even a musician of the calibre of your good self needed to do some more research about. And I'm not altogether surprised. I mean, yes, Ruth Gibbs, Edgar Bainton, they're the two, I think, probably in this forthcoming programme. That might not be so very familiar to most people, and it always excites me to play stuff that isn't that often performed or not that often recorded. Particularly, of course, primarily if it's good music, if it's worth hearing, if the composer had an interesting story, an interesting life history, if they fit into musical history and alongside other composers we know who are part of the canon, then that can link them as well. But this is music I've been living with a lot this year because I've recorded the pieces by Edgar Bainton and the pieces by Ruth Gibbs, and for that matter, the other stuff in the programme as well. I'm playing two pieces by Edgar Bainton, The Willows and The Making of the Nightingale. Now, Edgar Bainton started his life in London in 1880. And he became director of the Conservatoire, the music school in Newcastle on Tyne. And he was a very big fish in the Northeast musical pool, did a lot of good work there. And he was also interned. He happened to be in Germany at the outbreak of the First World War, and he was in an internment camp for the duration, where he was with a lot of other artistic figures, and they did a lot of good professional work while they were there. And his wife kept the flag flying at Newcastle doing his teaching while he was away. And when he came back at the end of the war, again through the 1920s, he was a very, very big figure, very important musician in the north of England and elsewhere. And he used to go on a lot of tours and lecture tours and do a lot of playing. He was a very good pianist. And he went on a tour at one point to Australia, and they were very impressed by him there. And in the early 1930s, the call came from Sydney, would he go and run the Sydney Conservatorium and be the director there? And he thought about it, he said yes, he emigrated to Australia, and he spent the rest of his life there. Mm. But the pieces that I'm playing for you and that I've recorded, they were all pieces which I had the honour of premiering. Over 60 years after Bainton's death, he wrote them, the two pieces I'm going to play this time, he wrote them in the 1920s in his home in Northumberland while he was teaching at Newcastle, and they stayed in manuscript. They're exquisite little gems, really, really beautiful and perfectly crafted and very inspired. And for some reason, they were never published and they just lingered on. And I was asked to give the first performances, and that I did a couple of years ago, and then wanted to record them. So that record we made in the summer, and it's coming out in the new year.